Hi, this is Ken from Customer Success Team. I would like to make a short presentation of the UnicontrolRover unit, and this is what's in the box. When you open the box, you have our GNSS antenna, which is to be mounted on top of your pole. The GNSS receiver also comes with a charger and a cable for charging the internal battery that's inside the GNSS antenna. We also supply this UHF antenna, which can be mounted on top of this one if you choose to. Also, last but not least, we have our 8-inch Samsung tablet that most of you are familiar with. This also comes with a charger, of course. And last, we have our quick guide to show you some of the basic functions that we have on the rover. Now let's have a look at the software. This is how the software looks when you open up the rover app on the tablet. Just to go through how the setup is, for those of you who know our excavator model, you can see it's very similar. At the top here you have these 3 windows with different values. You can choose which value you want in each field simply by pressing it like this. And here you have some different possibilities. This one you can see which window is selected, and you can type here all 3 windows what you would like. And then you type done and you have this. Should you choose to have only 2, you can just take one of them and you can choose not visible, and then it will disappear and you only have 2 windows. I'm going to go with the 3 windows to get a bigger view here at the work screen. Here you have a side view of our rover. And here you have a top view of our rover. I already set a point here that's called VEN 129. That's just coincidence. The main screen works same way as in the excavators. You have 1, 2, 3 finger system. One is you can swipe like this from side to side. And you have different views at the same time. Do it again. You have one big view again and you're back. That's the same. That's no different. You can also use 2 fingers. If you do that, you can move around on the screen like this. By using the 2 fingers, you can also zoom. And when you're in close like this, you can use your 3 fingers. If you use all 3 fingers, you can do this and you have a 3D view. You can actually turn it as you want. On the right side of the screen, you have these 6 buttons. These are your menu buttons or function buttons. Let's go through them one at a time. We start from the top. One push. You go to job type selection. You can choose from surface design file. You can create a surface or you can export a design. Also down here you have your background. If you click that, you can choose to put in whatever background files you need for your project. If you hold this, you go to select your project, which means that you can select which project you want to work on. If you have this cloud symbol, it means that the project is either created in the cloud or it's created for the cloud. That means that the changes that you make on your current project will be saved on the cloud as well, so you can access the project through the tablet but also through the cloud. Here you can choose to create a new project. If you do so, you can give your project a name. You can choose coordinate system, geoids, and project type. You want to make it a cloud project, this is correct, it goes to the cloud, or you can make it like a local project. Geoid, you can choose it here, this is Denmark. Coordinate system, also. Next up is button number 2. If you press and hold, you go to set height offset. You can set a height offset with a positive value or a negative value. And as you can see in the picture here, it offsets a line that resembles the values that you choose. You can also say no offset and it goes away. You also have an option to do a side offset. Button number 3. You have some selections for your system. Push once, it says pole height. Here you have some predefined heights for your pole. 160, 180 or 2 meters. It's very important that this height resembles the height of your pole in reality. So if you have a 2 meter pole, this is correct. If your pole is set to 180, you just push 180. If you have a pole that is 137, nobody has, but if you do, you can actually tap here and you can actually type in your value yourself. Then we have our tilt function. Right now it's disabled and you can enable the tilt. I'll show you that in a moment. In the bottom here you have two options. You have your heading and you have measure mode. Heading. If you push that, you can see values and view. This is 3 ways to choose how you would like to see your values and your views. You can choose north, which means that no matter which way you turn when you're out on a construction site, the tablet, the picture on the tablet, the animation will always show north, which means it will have the same direction constantly. If you choose tablet, you will use the internal compass in the tablet to choose your direction, and this will be shown on the animation screen or working screen. You can also choose the antenna, the GNSS antenna. If you do that, it shows your direction or where you're at using the position of the antenna. This is particularly nice if you have a very long area that you need to mark. For example, if you're using it while you're driving an ATV or a bike, or you have some wheels on it, whatever you need, a very long line with a lot of points, you can use the antenna as a tracer. In this setup, we're just going to use tablet both for our values and also for the view on the tablet. Next up is measure mode. If you press that, it gives you some different settings in terms of how you want to lock your points. As a standard, as a default, it's set for default, the blue one here. If you would like, you can also press average. That means that you take 10 samples and the system measures an average value within the 10 samples you have made. You can also press stop and go, and it's set for 5 seconds. That means that if you have it in your hand and you start walking, every 5 seconds it's going to lock a point. You can use the auto function, which is set in meters. That means that when you start walking, each time the antenna registers 1 meter, it's going to set a point automatically. We're going to go back to default and control the points ourselves. Button number 4, the lock. It's like on the excavator program. If you push this once, the site reference is locked to the point I made called water 132, which you can see here. Now it's locked, and no matter where I go, it's going to keep on locking to that specific point. If you want to undo that, you press and hold the same button, and your point water 132 is removed. I'm just going to set a new point like that. Button number 5, the small dot here. Push once, and it gives you some possibilities in terms of what it is you want to see on your work screen. The round dot here is a point like you see here. You select this feature, which will be the feature that comes on when you push the button here, which is the lock button. This is where you push to lock a point, because it's set to a point. But instead of a point, maybe you want to do like a string. You can have a double string, you can have a spline, you can have circles, 3-point circles, and so on. I'll demonstrate how this works. For example, if I wanted to do this one, I'm going to take my rover and I'm going to walk for a bit, and I'm going to push down here, set a point, and as you can see, it sets a point. If I keep walking, I'm going to do one more point. And right now you can see that the 2 last points I made is actually connected since I chose the string here. I'm going to keep on doing this, making another one, and I'm going to make another one, and I can do one there. Now, you can see you get two options here. You can either choose the top button, which means it's gonna close the figure that you just made, or you can just end the line. I'm gonna choose to close the entire figure, like this. Now, if we swipe on the screen and I zoom in, you will be able to see the area that I just marked using these points. If I press and hold, you can see the site reference is locked to this water 134. Also, what you can see is if you look at the top left window that I chose here, you can see the length. Total length is 15.98 meters all the way around. You can see the slope is 0 promille. It's totally flat. The elevation 1.13 and the area is 8.83 square meters. That means you have already also measured the area of what you just drew. This is a very nice feature. If you want to change these functions, you can press this button again and you have the same 6 functions. Let's say you just want to make some points. You push the point and you walk with your rover and you press this one and it sets a point. You keep on walking. If you choose a point, let's say this one, and you don't want that point, you just press and hold on the lock and it's deleted again. So if you take wrong measurements, it's very easy to just press and hold and it will just erase them in the same order as you made them. Another cool feature is if you press this function button again and say you want, say, a circle. You go to where you want your circle. Maybe you want a circle here. You push your locking button and you just start walking. And as you can see, it creates a circle. It keeps following you, so you can actually make this circle exactly as big as you want. Same time, you have your measurements up here, which is shown in meters. So if you want like a 10 meter circle, you know, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It just keeps on showing the circle until you are satisfied or have the correct size. When you're satisfied, you just push your locking button one more time and you have your circle. Again, if you zoom in, if you press and hold on the circle, you get all your info here. You can see that it's 10.59 meters all around. If you choose to walk or crawl, the elevation, you have the slope, and you have the area which says 8.93 square meters inside this one. Last but not least, you can also do like a 3-point circle. It all depends on what you need. This works the same way. So you take your rover, you go here, you'll push the locking button, 1, and you can see this blue line that comes, you push again. Then you have your 2 points, and now it's actually just waiting for me to make the 3rd point. It could be, let's say, here. And it makes a 3-point circle using the 3 points that was just made. You have the spline function also, which means that you can make the curved line. So instead of all these straight lines, you can actually make them curved to your likings. Let's start by making the first point here, and I'm just gonna start walking. And as you can see, I can actually make all these turns, as many as I like. Again, you get an option to close the figure you just made, or you can just end it. I'm just going to choose close, like that. Then you have your values again up here. If you choose this one, like this, you get all your information up here. Also, should you choose to start from a certain point, let's say you want to start at this point, you can go, it automatically locks onto this point. But if you look here, you have your bullseye, and it actually shows you the distance, and it's fairly easy in real life to go, and you can actually get very precise here and find your 0 point, or start from that should you choose to make a new line or a new figure, a new area, a surface, or whatever. Button number 6. Right now it's called vand. That's water in Danish. This is the symbol for our locking button. That means every time you push, it's going to lock a new point. I'm just going to zoom in here. So if I take the rover, I'll walk out here and I want a point, I'm just going to press once and it's going to lock a new point. If you press and hold, you get into this select point code menu. As you can see here, you have this resembles an eye. That means what's visible on your work screen. Right now there is two point codes here. You have sewer and you have water. And I can choose which one I want to see and which one I don't want to see. You can also create attributes. It's right now set to off. You can do like this: once, repeat, and off. So let's say once attribute, you can do like this, and you can give it a name, call it whatever you want. You can call it sewage, you can call it piping, you can call it a water line, you can call it whatever you need to call it. And you can set that on your map, on your working map, so you constantly know what you're digging and what you're measuring. These attributes will go into the cloud as well if you are creating a cloud project. When you have made all these points, it's possible for you to go and make a surface from the points. If you click here once and you say create surface, you say next, surface from points, and next. This one appears, and as you can see, it's actually the map that we just made. Your rover is the little white dot that you see here, and I can actually control that and go here and I can say new point, and I can go to this one, say new point, new point, new point, and as soon as you have 3 points, you have enough to make a surface, new point. It's right now it's set to auto mode. You can choose manual, or you can choose and you can adjust the height of each point you just set. So if you want to make some sort of a slope, you need an elevation, you have a special height above sea level or whatever, you can type it in here manually, which you want. Right now I'm just going to leave it at auto, because when you press next, you can choose XML or you can choose DXF, and it's going to create the surface. I'm just going to go for the XML. I press next, and if you zoom in here, you can see now we actually made a surface. Like mentioned before, if you go to your settings button, button number 3, you have the tilt function. Right now it is disabled, so you can't really see, nothing happens. But if I press this and enable the tilt, and I say done, please observe your rover in your side view. You will be able to see that now it actually rotates and flips like you want it. The rover has a built-in tilt compensator, which means that it can actually go to 60 degrees before it gets inaccurate. So you don't have to have it standing exactly like this. You can actually do it like this and still have an accurate point set.